you're going to set up Mail Coexistence, establish your directory sync, and then you're going to do your testing. And setting up Mail Coexistence, it's pretty easy. In fact, if you take a look, I'm going to just go back into the admin console to kind of show you what you do to set up coexistence. We have this migration tab, and the migration tab will actually just walk you through setting up coexistence. So here's a big thing that says email coexistence, configure, and we just have here's what you do. First, you plan for it, you read about it, then you secure your mail flow traffic, which is an on-premise task that you do in Exchange, and then you verify your mail flow, and then that's it. So it's really, you just kind of walk through this page. It'll give you the instructions of what to do on your own Exchange server, how to set up mail routing, and it's done. And again, there's not a whole lot that has to be done. I will show you what happens on the back end. This is how MailFlow works during coexistence, and this is why you don't need to update your MX record. So when mail is routing, here we have two environments. We have Microsoft Online on the right-hand side, and you have your local Exchange deployment on the left-hand side. Mail will automatically, for this company, go into their local environment. And you can see down the bottom, let's say we have two users. We have a user who's on Microsoft Online, and we have a user who has a local mailbox on their local Exchange. If mail were to come into the local environment, but it was sent to Joe, who's on Microsoft Online, what we'll do is, after we've moved Joe up to Microsoft Online, we'll leave behind a mail forwarder, so that all mail that gets delivered to Joe locally in Exchange will actually get forwarded out to Microsoft Online, and it will go on out there. And that's done because Microsoft Online has this special domain routing address. You can see it's the companyx at companyx.microsoftonline.com. So every domain that gets registered with us will get a special domain so that they can route mail directly up to Microsoft Online. And when you move a mailbox up to Microsoft Online, we will leave behind a forwarding address, so all mail will automatically route up. Now, if there's mail that needs to be routed back to Bob, who's on premise, since your domain is not authoritative in Microsoft Online, it'll just route back up to the MX record, which will deliver it to on-premise. So that's how it works. It's basically anything for someone who's up on Microsoft Online, it'll get forwarded through this special domain that we have. Anything that needs to go to the on-premise environment, we'll just use their regular domain at company.com. And it doesn't matter how it's originally addressed. If it's user@company.com, that'll first go on-premise, but then it'll get forwarded to where it needs to go. And so that's how mail routing works. By the way, the word is caret. Caret is the word. Okay? So that's how MailFlow works. The next thing you need to do is, really in order for this to work, though, you want to have all of these users in Microsoft Online. We need to know about all of them so that we can route back to them. And so it's like, how do those users get up into Microsoft Online? And that is done through the directory sync. And what the directory sync is it's a tool that will run on your local Active Directory. It'll take all mail-enabled objects and all users, and it will copy those up to Microsoft Online. And it'll just take them all, and it'll just push them all up there. It's a very simple tool that gets installed, and it just runs and copies everything up.
Question?
Yeah, question. I'm sorry, what?
Caret.
The word is caret.
So if I had a username, contact name caret, you say that would go as well.
Yeah. So the question is, if I had a contact name caret, would that go? Yes. All mail-enabled objects, distribution list members, and all users, whether they're mail-enabled or not, will go on up to Microsoft Online. Yeah, and contacts, any contacts, anything that you have, so that you end up in Microsoft Online with a full gal. In fact, let me show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to, this is just a screenshot for configuring a gal. Again, we just have all the steps that you just kind of walk through. You download the tool. And, this is just a screenshot of like a Microsoft Online AD, a Microsoft Online set of users that haven't been dir synced. And then you'll see disabled users is where all the users, this is a view of everyone in your company who does not have a license. And in this case, we haven't run dir sync yet, so there's nobody. Download the tool, install the tool. The tool is very simple to install. It only asks you for two things. It asks you for a user ID and password for your on-premise environment, and a user ID and password for Microsoft Online. And so that's all that you have to do. So here it is. It's asking you for user ID and password to access the local Active Directory, then a user ID and password to access Microsoft Online. Once you've done that, it will then kick off, and it will continuously sync, taking any changes that it finds in the local Active Directory, and it'll push it up to Microsoft Online. When it's done, any user that you had up in Microsoft Online that it can match with, it will. And everybody else, it will just add to this disabled list, meaning that we know about them, but we're not going to set them up with a mailbox yet. So we'll just create them there. And so, like, for example, Microsoft, we have, I don't know, 90 some odd thousand users or whatever. I'm not even sure what the list is, plus another 200, probably about another 200,000 contacts and groups and whatever, and just syncs them all up, and we can see them all in here. So, and the question is hubcat. I mean, the word is hubcat. 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 Hubcap. Hubcap. Oh, yeah. So the question is, so let's say you had two forests, the tire forest and the hubcap forest, okay? And does it support both of those? So you can't run, it doesn't work in both forests. Typically what you'll do is you'll dir sync one forest into the other, and then you'll have a dir sync that goes up to Microsoft Online. So the next word is pilgrim, by the way. Oh, question? You don't have to use it since it, yeah. So the question is, like, what is the sync period? We sync every 3 hours. It's a 3-hour polling interval. Yeah, so the question is, what happens if it's broken? We actually monitor on Microsoft Online whether or not you're syncing with us. And so if your system goes down, we'll then start to bug you. And we'll say, hey, look, you're not syncing with us. You're not syncing with us. And it does get annoying because I did a demo once about 6 months ago, and I just left it running. I mean, I turned it off, and it's been bugging me since then, saying, hey, you haven't synced with us. And so you can turn that off. But yeah, you will get notified about it. So, all right, that is the directory sync. And that's basically how it works. There's a couple things I want to talk about just with directory sync real quick. Generally, once you've done your directory sync, you manage the objects out of your local Active Directory. You don't manage them from Microsoft Online because it'll just copy everything just because everything's in your local Active Directory and it comes on up. In fact, everything's going to be read-only. DL distribution lists, specifically you want to manage those from your on-premise environment. If you manage them from Microsoft Online, they'll get overwritten, and so that's extremely important.
Since all my pilgrims are in the Exchange resource forest,
yeah.
with disable accounts, and things like that.
Yeah, so the question is about a resource forest. Yes, you can set up the dir sync with the resource forest, and that'll work just fine. And we have that topology up at Microsoft running right now. So anyways, that's the consideration there. Also, think about active accounts. Once you turn them into an active mail account, the mail attributes will no longer synchronize on over. So proxy addresses and things like that will be managed after you've migrated them. All right.
Question.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to take one other question, then I want to get on to mail migration.
Go back to the last line for a second.
Yeah.
Why can't you manage the all group not looking at them?
Why can't you manage them? So once you start the directory sync, we basically treat the local Active Directory as master. So if you go online and you add and remove people, the next time we do a sync, we'll replace whatever changes you've done. And so that's all we're saying is that make your changes from the Active Directory because it truly is a one-way sync from Active Directory up to Microsoft Online. And so we don't do any pushbacks. All right, so now you're in this coexistence state. Some things to think about when you're in coexistence. These are the things that we do and do not support. So we get a full gal because of the directory sync. Mail flow will work great. You have RICS messaging, meeting requests, things like that. You do not get free busy. You do not get cross delegates, so you can't have somebody delegate to someone else. You can't manage conference rooms. Again, someone on premise can't manage a conference room that's in the cloud. And any mail from your on-premise exchange, because it's going across the internet, appears as if it's from an internet address. It basically will look like an SMTP address versus a GAL recipient. So those are kind of the main limitations during the coexistence.
So with these top limitations that you see today, are any of these concerning or questionable for the migration considerations that you have for going up to Microsoft Online?
Yeah. Free busy? Well, free busy.
Okay.